and there it is. My mic is on. So I hope I gave you guys a little giggle first thing in the morning. It's one of the good things you can do is laugh at yourself. And yep, David D was the first one to realize no audio. Ha ha ha. Actually, I did it on purpose for once, right? I did it on purpose. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the XRP Community Update. My name is Sincerely George, and I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I actually fiddled with my mic, got it turned around right, yada, yada, yada. It has been a better day. Today has been much better than yesterday. Yesterday ended up being a Monday. And so maybe it's because I started off by saying, oh, it's Monday, and just getting out of bed feeling that way. But today it's Tuesday, so another chance to make the best of a day, and so I am excited. My day ended up going exactly the way my morning did. So if you have any questions on if it got better, it did get better. I went to bed. It was wonderful. But you know, every day you have an opportunity to make the best of that day. And so even though you may have a down day one day, your best that day is still your best. So always try and do your best, and that's what I did yesterday. So I got a chance to get out of bed today feeling that I did my best yesterday and ready to do my best today. So without further ado, let's get into the show. I want to say thank you to all of my supporters who were here when I was not live yesterday, and those who were like, she's not going live, she's obviously slept in. I appreciate you too. So let's get right to the chat, because I heard that my sound wasn't on. So I want to make sure that I catch that. So maybe I'll go to the chat first or earlier. So first here, not second, was David D, followed by the Crypto Camper, Silhouette Park Farms, Adam Kilpatrick, and there is Danny Torres. Good morning. And Albertina Elf. Pleasure to have you all here. I feel like I'm really loud right now, and thank you very much, Danny. I appreciate that. The sound is good. I got the mic fixed. I'm not sure exactly. I'm pretty sure it was the USB cable, and I ended up doing some whiz-bang things to make it work. Leonel, pleasure to have you here. David Butler, always a pleasure as well. So let's get right into it, because I think we have some good stuff to talk about, and I'd like to transition over to talking to you guys about some of the stuff that I've found. So SBO, Stephen SBO, if you guys didn't know what his first name is, I think his first name is Stephen, put out this tweet this morning, just a couple minutes ago. Just a quick reminder to everyone, 30 cent XRP was a very strong support for like 6 months last year. Breaking it as a resistance, will it be an indicative of change? So I can't really speak to that. As you know, I'm not a TA expert. Nonetheless, this is something that we're aiming towards. The last I just checked, which was just a couple minutes ago, we're at like 29.65 cents, right? So we're going up. Other parts of the market are continuing to go up and down, just like the market does. Not any form of financial advice, but it is very nice to see a little rise in the price, since we were loitering around, 25 cents for a couple of weeks at least. So XRP Scan, many of you may not know what XRP Scan is, but it's another developer group working in our community who is working to provide solid information about what's going on the ledger. Now, they just turned a year old, and they published this yesterday, so get out there and say congratulations, happy birthday. There is a tweet. I don't even know if you guys use those tweets, but there's the tweet. So yeah, go out there and show them some support. So XRP Scan is 1 year old. 1 year ago this day, we announced the beta availability of XRP Scan. The project was started with a simple goal of making the most easy to use Explorer for the XRP ledger. And they posted their tweet from the year before. Starting with just accounts and transaction views, we gradually added streaming ledgers, enhanced transaction views, validator info, XRP ledger metrics, escrows, funding patterns, and the most comprehensive data set of verified XRP exchange accounts and trusted XRPL validators. So let's go take a quick look. We won't loiter here for too long. I don't like to be judgmental in any way. I do like what we have from the DevNull Productions team a little bit better, because it's more graphic, so it's easier for me to understand what I'm looking at. But this is data about what's going on on the ledger. And, you know, on this page, the XRP scan page, you have the ability to go and do searches and go and look for specific information and dive into the information that you're looking for and you know, get more detailed information about it. I didn't bookmark an account. I got my mic working this morning instead. But this is a great site, and so I highly recommend everybody use it. As they said, you know, this is a place as well that you can go and look at, you know, the different validated, the validators. So you have all of that out here. If we just go home, you actually get transaction by transaction as they're going through the different hashes for them, and which ledger they were in. So a lot of deep information available on XRP Scan. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. Please go out and say happy birthday to them. You know, a birthday is always more fun with your friends. So let's keep moving on. So I'm not sure if you guys saw this. I thought it was really interesting, even though I have no time at this point. I feel like I have no time. I feel like a bride who's getting ready for her wedding and is like, oh my goodness, I've got all this stuff to do day and night. It's nonstop. In between every little break you have, you're doing something. So I'm very excited to go out and check out the Ripple Engineering team's blog. They've started a blog, which, you know, if you go to the Ripple Twitter handle, you'll see this post. So I won't bother sharing it because you guys should know how to spell Ripple. But they have a technical blog. It doesn't have that much yet. Nonetheless, it is a great place to catch up with what is going on with Ripple. And I think this is where they plan on doing more of the communication with developers. Now, as we've talked about before, XRP chat is where a lot of development discussion goes on now when developers have technical issues that they're having a difficult time working through. They'll go to XRP chat, and that was something that we found out from one of our developers, Mo. So it's a really good resource. When we had the information coming out, when David Schwartz a couple weeks ago released his proposal in regards to the whole stablecoins on the XRP ledger, I went out to XRP chat and there was a lot of information, a lot of commentary about it. And he actually referenced the thread that related to that, you know, that discussion that was on XRP chat, so you could immediately dive into it. But there is a lot of information on XRP chat. So if you're looking for more of the commentary or a specific topic of discussion, and you want to go deeper than the amount of context and characters that are allowed in a tweet, definitely head over to XRP chat because it's a great resource for people in the community. So moving on. So this is where I want to spend a lot of our time today because I think the report is not long, so I invite everybody to go out and read it. Again, this was something that was released by Ripple, and you know, as my banner for today was, but you know, what did I put? Nothing to complain about except for, and I have nothing to complain about. Everything is great. We have great news coming out in our community. And I think the only thing that I can complain about was Monday. It was Monday and not Saturday yesterday. So there's nothing really big to complain about, but the Q3 XRP market report is here and we are going to dig into that. So I'd like us to have a little bit of a discussion about this. As you see, I highlighted a couple of things. Let me go back up to the top. So let's see who is here. I'm actually early. I'm like more where I want to be at. This is like the time when I'd like to be clicking into what you guys are doing so that we can have commentary. So I made it today. This is fantastic. So who do we have here? I already said hello to some of the people that were here. The Great Pate has shown up. Awesome. Fantastic to have you here, my dear. And who else? Robert Gable. I'm not sure if I've seen you here before. Thank you. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Who else? So what do you have to complain about, Lionel? I doubt that you have anything to complain about, Mr. Hot Stuff over there. What's up, Lionel? How can we help? That is our question. We want to help you. So definitely reach out and talk to us. So the Q3 2019 XRP market report. So this is something that the Ripple team puts out every quarter. And, you know, a lot of other projects in the digital asset space will put out regular reports, but Ripple, like clockwork, puts one out every quarter that tells us about what's going on with their volumes, new partnerships, and things that are really you know, changing for them. So I'm not going to focus in on everything that is here, but I think that there are some key points that we can focus in on, and so I want to just drill into those. So a decrease in sale, we heard about this at the end of the last quarter, and the thing we talk about a decrease in sales. At the same time, I hear an uptick in another conversation. That's what came to mind just a second ago. We'll talk about that in a second. But for Q3 2019, our total XRP sales was $66.24 million versus $251 million in the previous quarter. So they've dropped the amount of sales by a high amount. Per the Q2 report, our stated goal for programmatic sales for Q3 was approximately 10 basis points of the new volume benchmark. So they actually ended this quarter below that at 8.8 basis points. So in fact, part of the way through Q3, we decided to pause programmatic sales altogether and focus on our over-the-counter sales on a few strategic partners who are building XRP utility and liquidity into the region that are strategically important to our growing global business. So I think this is a key line. They don't use too many lines in this document. This document is definitely not long-winded. So in my opinion, every word counts because they want to make sure that people read it, that it's not something that people put on the back burner to look at later. And so, they decided to pause their programmatic sales altogether and focus on over-the-counter for a few strategic partners. Now we have some, when we're reading this, is it partners, for example, partners that are going to come on board and provide funding, or is it partners like MoneyGram, or is it partners like people that are coming on to, that are now part of Spring? So the whole Sologenic that came out last week by Coinfield is one of the things that makes me think about this, along with the uptick that we have with MoneyGram. I don't have an answer for this, but I think that's something that we should actually be thinking about as we look at different pieces of Ripple news that are coming out. So go out, do some research, come back, form your own ideas, right? Like that's part of what we need to do as investors, because if it's going to go up, if it's going to go down, we want to have some foresight into that. And not financial advice. This is for fun and entertainment only, communication, having fun. So seems like Jeff is in the house. Good morning, Jeff. So this here, right, the distribution rate, great, pretty graph. So if you're looking at the screen right now, we've got the blue line, which is actually XRP. So we have an uptick, but at the same time, no new XRP can ever be created post the Genesis block. So XRP actually has a slight negative inflation rate due to the destructive nature of XRP related to transaction fees. Therefore, the line above reflects Ripple's distribution of XRP, not the asset's inflation rate. So, take a look at that. And they go through, like, there's a little bit of a table. I'm not going to go through all of these little bits and pieces, but this part here, the escrow activity, I thought was actually something that is interesting. So we have, this whole discussion about decreasing the amount of sales that they're doing. So what's happening with all that XRP? Well, it goes back into escrow. So in late 2018, Ripple formed escrow accounts, and every month for 60 months, a certain amount of XRP gets released, exactly 1 billion. But what they do is they go and they put it back. And early on, and this is something that Sam I Am or To the Lifeboats was looking at, was how much was going back and how much is actually being retained, stored, and put into accounts for usage. So when the XRP becomes available, there's a percentage of it that goes back into escrow almost immediately. And then there's a percent that it appears, allegedly to be sold. And then another part that's going into accounts that they continue to maintain, and sort of like a bank account, their savings account for what they'll be doing. So in Q3 2019, 3 billion XRP were again released out of escrow, 1 billion each month, and 2.3 billion XRP were returned, subsequently putting into new escrow contracts. So those new escrow contracts become available 60 months out. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. This is the part that I found the most interesting because, as I said earlier, every single word in this document has value. And I don't know if you guys felt it, but we are constantly fighting FUD in our community. And Ripple took an opportunity to write what appears to be like a page and a half right? 2 pages in this document about FUD. And so I want to find out from you, do you agree with them that the spread of misinformation, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is as high as they are saying? So let's go back over to our chat, see who's here, make sure I'm at the end so I can see what you guys have to say. All right. So SBO, we actually talked about you first thing this morning. Thank you so much for your tweet. Yes. A quick reminder to everyone that 30 cents in XRP was a very strong support for almost 6 months last year. Breaking it as a resistance will be indicative of change. So good insight. I hope you are right. I want you to be right. Let me say that. I want you to be right. Please be right. Please be right. All right. So who else do we have here this morning? David D, when it says, when Calvin arrives, ask him who his favorite XRP YouTube personality is. His answer surprised me and maybe you. All right, I will ask him. I will definitely ask him. The unbearable guy. I wouldn't be surprised by that, actually, Crypto Camper. I also wouldn't be surprised if he said Alex Cobb. He is all over. I went out and stalked Calvin Knight one day, and his Twitter profile actually made me giggle a little bit. So who else do we have? So we have On the Chain Live. Good morning, Jeff. Pleasure to have you here. Richard Bassett. I'm not sure if I mentioned you earlier. Gary Brunner, SBO, and Tom Custer. I think I am destroying your name, and I apologize that. Good morning and a quick hi. So let's go back over to the report. So spread of misinformation. We talk about this all the time, and in thinking about this, I think that there is an uptick in misinformation, and one of the things that the Ripple report points to is the fact that, based on an Indiana University research document, that it appears they're not just basing this on what they think, right? They're basing this on actual information that is being shared. So last quarter, there was an uptick in FUD and the spread of misinformation about XRP, especially around topics such as purported XRP dumping and price manipulation by Ripple. So we all know that there is crypto bitlord out there who is like, they're dumping it, let's fork it. So I question how much that contributed to the uptick, considering it was something that people could get around, whether they knew a lot about blockchain or didn't, and just use it as a sticking point, a way to pick on XRP. So, you've got people in the Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other digital asset communities who would be able to, even though they know the truth, that it's not dumping, that it's escrow, they could say, yeah. For all those people that don't understand how this works, this is the truth. So FUD number one, dumping allegations, conversations from bots, and Ripple is pointing at bot activity mostly, less than actual commentary coming out of a lot of the different news articles that we see. They're actually pointing at this research paper that was put out by Indiana University that bots contributed to the propagation of FUD across the digital asset industry. They comprise 49% of share of the conversation about BTC, 71% about ETH, and about 50% about XRP. And so the amount of bots, conversations has increased in Q3, and the number one topic is the dumping allegations. So I think Ripple has already started to deal with this in regards to, stopping their sales is one way, right? And it's going to reduce the amount of XRP that's available. But at this point, I think anybody who's looking for the price to go up, this stands to be a positive indication of what can happen. Because if there's none being sold over the counter, then there's a need to go out to the larger marketplace, and a lot of people are just holding it. It's my opinion. But conversations from bots specifically around XRP dumping and flooding the market increased by 179% quarter over quarter. So it was the most common FUD topic. The second one is price manipulation. Nearly half of all conversations allege that Ripple made XRP price fall. That also came from bot accounts. So the truth behind this is that Ripple cannot control the XRP price. XRP is traded on a fully functioning and independent digital asset market, including over 140 exchanges in which Ripple plays a very limited role. So, we can say, oh, no, there's whales out there that are manipulating the price, yada, 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 yada. Everybody has the right to have their own opinion. But I think where we can think about this is if you remember when the Binance platform went live. And one of the things that Tiffany Hayden was all over when Binance went live was the fact that, and I say Tiffany Hayden, there were others in the community, but I remember her most notably, was the fact that they were broadcasting XRP as being Ripple. And she was like, it's not Ripple, it's XRP. And Binance was like, well, the company can come and talk to us. And as Tiffany was saying, they can't. It's XRP is separate from Ripple. I'm sorry, they're not coming to talk to you. Fix it, because you're denoting the name of the digital asset wrong. And so we can say, oh, Ripple is manipulating the price one way or another. They say they aren't. So since they actually have a strong reputation and are leading very well by example and have a strong team that tries to live in integrity with what they're developing, I'm going to side with them and say that they cannot control the price, because they say they can't. Nonetheless, they can control the price by how much they allow to flood into the market. So when there's more available, and I was talking to somebody about this from a Christmas tree perspective yesterday, in that, if you have a 4-foot Christmas tree last year, and I'll use Christmas tree because it's easy, a good example, it's going to take up a certain amount of bulbs. And when I say Christmas tree balls, they're the balls that you see all over a Christmas tree. I'm not going to go find a picture. But then if you get a 5-foot Christmas tree, or if you had a 5-foot Christmas tree last year and then you get a 4-foot Christmas tree this year, you're going to have extra balls, because there's more balls than are needed for the tree. But if next year you got a 6-foot Christmas tree, you're going to need more. And so I don't think that they're manipulating the price. I think, where is the XRP being used? What is the utility that it's being used for? And the uptick in usability and the usage that we have by the different partners that Ripple has is going to change that. So Ripple is fully regulated. We have regulatory clarity. Wow. I love you. I want you to tell me all these different places where we have regulatory clarity, because I don't feel like we have regulatory clarity. What does that mean exactly, Lionel? MoneyGram. Okay, Lionel, so it means they supply all transaction data to regulators. Fully compliant. Okay. And duty call. Bye, Tom. Have a good one. Thank you for stopping in. You're losing, Lionel. Don't even start, people. That is incorrect, Lionel. Exchanges do not require AML KYC, making it impossible for Ripple to pass the data required. So I think that's an interesting point, David, because when we're talking about what the exchanges are doing, that's completely different. And in regards to what's going on the exchange, oftentimes we're doing it with a destination account. And so therefore it's just a pool of XRP until it is taken out of the exchange and put back onto the ledger, right? So when you remove it from an exchange and now you have it on your ledger, moving it between two different places. So that's an opportunity for Ripple to report, but what you have going on the exchange, you can't. So AJ, wonderful to be here. Yes, thank you. If you are here, please like my video. I actually have sound and I have video today. Yay, yay. All right, so let's keep going on. So we also know that Ripple renamed the XRapid. And so, previously, prior to reading the Q3 report, I was like, okay, all of the different products that are comprised of the RippleNet solution are now ODL, on-demand liquidity. Nonetheless, in this report, they say Ripple continues to experience high customer demand for on-demand liquidity, formerly known as XRapid. So XRapid is the piece that they are calling on-demand liquidity. Maybe that was just for, to reduce the amount of words, but they're saying that XRapid is now on-demand liquidity only. So it leaves me wondering, what about XCurrent and XVIA, right? Because the way that they redid the entire site, those product offerings are no longer there. So I'm wondering, is everything XRapid now? But here's a quick snapshot of XRP versus Bitcoin. So the speed of XRP, we already know that, 3.8 seconds versus 9.2 minutes for BTC. Transactions per second, 1,500 on XRP versus 7 for Bitcoin. And the fees are way less than half a penny. I'm not even going to try and say that, versus about 75-76 cents on Bitcoin. While Bitcoin's utility is often highlighted as a store of value, we believe XRP is by far the best digital asset for global payments. So Ripple customers live on ODL, including MoneyGram, excuse me, and others, increased by 75% last quarter, and dollar volume on ODL increased more than 5 times from Q2 to Q3. So this aligns with the diagrams that we were looking at with the uptick in volume. The uptick in volume started in August, based on what we were looking at, and, perceived or potential volume increase for payments. And, June, July, August, right? So beginning of June is when Q3 started, and right, yeah, am I right? Q1, Q2, yeah, I get confused easily. So we're coming into Q4, right? October is right. I think I'm completely wrong. I'm willing to be wrong, right? October, November, December is Q4, okay, and July, August, and September are Q3. So, we saw the uptick start about mid-August for the increase in payments. So, based on what we saw in Q3, I think that Q4 is going to be a lot higher. And I wonder if if that's going to play back on what SPO was telling us earlier, that 30 cents was a strong support for about 6 months last year. And if we continue to see this uptick, and they aren't doing sales over the counter and making them available from the escrow, is that going to increase the price? And if I want to speculate, I would say probably. So who else? So AJ has joined. Good morning, AJ. Awesome to have you here. Good morning, Tina. Fantastic to have you. Bittrex, regulatory compliant. Lionel, you're on point with that. Binance is working on being regulatory compliant. Yes, there's a lot of different exchanges that are working on becoming regulatory compliant. Nonetheless, there's still a lot that aren't regulatory compliant and are not providing the anti-money laundering and AML. Nonetheless, we did have, and I love that word right now, it seems, last year we had FATF, right? The federal, don't do money laundering group. And their advisory was that we needed more anti-money laundering and anti-money laundering rules, and that all exchanges needed to fall into line. So we do have a change coming in that regard, right? So I hear where you're going with that, and keep it going. Keep the discussion going, Lionel. SBI is regulatory compliant too. You're right. So just talking about Spring, they talk about the acquisition of logos, and the team will focus on decentralized financial projects, right? So DeFi's, and explore systems that will leverage XRP as its core, which is interesting. So they're abandoning their old project and focusing solely on decentralized finance. Xspring invested in CoinMe, a global leader in cryptocurrency ATMs and blockchain financial services. And this is interesting because when we think about cryptocurrency ATMs, I always think of Bitcoin ATMs, right? I often call them a Bitcoin ATM. Oh, is there a Bitcoin ATM? Even though you can often find Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin in those ATMs. So it's very interesting that we have the investment in CoinMe. Coil, a streaming micropayments tool, is using the Interledger protocol and any currency, including XRP, partnered with Mozilla and Creative Commons to launch the grant for the web. They also had an investment in Imager, right? You guys also know about that. We have BitPay partnering with Spring. Electra Highway, thank you for becoming a subscriber. I see that there's a dancing bear on my head. BitPay partnered with Xspring to natively support XRP, which will enable thousands of businesses to accept XRP for payments. So BitPay, let's go take a look at that, because I have not actually dug into BitPay. All right, fine. BitPay, XRP. Let's see. So BitPay offers, what is BitPay? So BitPay also integrates with its BitPay wallet with Xspring developer platform. So do we have, let's go to Fintra. What else do we have? I agree. That's why I called out US. I don't think most exchanges don't want to do anything more than what is required, and some even less. I agree with you. I think that that is the truth. And Lionel says ATMs break KYC rules. So one thing about ATMs here in the United States, Lionel, is that when you go up to, so you think, okay, ATM, stick your money in, get something out, right? Almost like a vending machine. Okay, so BitPay is the largest global blockchain payment provider today, announced a partnership. Okay, blockchain payment provider. So if you want to play with blockchain, you would use BitPay. Oh, I went too far. All right, over here. So one of the things about ATMs here in the US, the Bitcoin ATM. So anti-money laundering in Canada, the Bitcoin ATMs that I've seen there, stick your money in, get your receipt. You scan the wallet address. Now, here in the United States, it's a little bit different because you have to provide a telephone number and you have to, I believe, provide a picture of your license and other things into the ATM. So it's doing all of this KYC right there. Now, what happens if you have a prepaid calling card? It's not quite the same as it is in Europe, where when you go, for most people, it's not quite the same as it is in Europe, where you just go and buy the SIM card, stick it in your phone, and you're good to go. Here in the United States, we have a lot of people that have contracts. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people will have, the latest iPhone or the latest Android devices. They often sign a 2-year contract with the telephone provider, the carrier, and that requires, a level of KYC because they often want prepay, or they want, you to tell them, what is your bank account information so that we can do an auto withdrawal from your account. So here in the States, and again, I don't know how everything works in Europe, but here in the States, you do have some more of that know your customer information available. So I hope that helps a little bit. And I like how in their report, they also talk about notable regulatory activity. They point at the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK and the fact that FCA has previously called out similarities between ETH and XRP, noting that press release that XRP would not be regulated as a security. And then they talk about some other industry moves that have happened. It's almost like Facebook, because they talk about how people have moved away from the Libra consortium, how Swift has launched a new API standard, and other good things. So I really think this is a great report that everybody should actually go and read. So let me share the link with you. Actually, you can access it on Twitter through their Twitter handle. Everybody seemed to be posting it. Brad Garlinghouse, Ethan Beard, everybody. Hey, this is ready. This is ready. All right. So itchy nose. All right. Let's see what rubbish, Gary. Rubbish, Gary. Many banks will use Ripple technology, but not necessarily XRP, which is concerning to me anyhow. So Gary, help us understand why you think they wouldn't be using XRP. How does the RippleNet or XCurrent solution provide them with, the be-all, end-all? And we know that it is a stepping stone. So if we just go back, I want to focus in on what you say here, and I value your comment. This isn't an attack in any way. So if we go back into Ripple's history when they were OneCoin, and then coming forward, when they went out and first were talking to banks about their proof of concept, what they wanted to actually have available and be rolling out, they found at that point that most banks were not warming up to the idea of holding a digital asset. They didn't want it. But but those banks, those early people who were interested in what Ripple had, faster payment flows, more transparency, said, yeah, we want that product. So they really, in my opinion, and based on my own understanding, built themselves out as a financial services firm that created the technology that the banks wanted. Now, at its core, all of the different systems, whether it's be XVIA, XCurrent, and XRapid, all fit together. And now we have on-demand liquidity, which even though they say it's XRapid over here in their Q3 report, I still think it covers all three of those products because all of them fit together. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that you can flow from Xcurrent to Xrapid. Xrapid leverages XRP at its core. Xcurrent has the ability to leverage XRP. So while the banks may have the technology implemented today and they're not touching the digital asset because, in my opinion, it creates risk and risk from regulators, right? So if they handle this XRP, what are the taxation rules that they need to deal with? What are the future points of regulatory oversight that they're going to need to be concerned about? So they have the system locked and loaded, installed, and ready to go. As soon as they have some of that clarity, as soon as the risk is decreased, they have the ability to move forward and start using XRP in their flows. That's my perception. Additional to that, I think that, when we talk about over-the-counter purchases, I know it's not me that's going there and banging on Ripple's door and saying, yeah, I have a couple $1,000,000, please sell me some XRP. So who is it? If it's not you or me, and maybe you are one of those OTC customers, but if it's not you or me, who is it? And so if it's not the retail customer, then it has to be institutions, banks, or governments that are buying. So while they may not be comfortable using it right now, why not buy it and be ready to use it in your flows in the future? So that's how I think about it, but I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say about it going forward. All right. Highway rebranding, ODL is smart because it nullifies the Xcurrent, Xvia, Xrapid conversation. If all banks are receiving ODL, it is opaque. Xcurrent was always a gateway drug into clarity. I completely agree. I think that Xcurrent played a role in the past, right? Because if I am risk averse and I don't want to be touching anything that's digital asset, I don't want my shareholders or my risk and compliance department to be thinking digital asset, I could look at Xcurrent and say it doesn't deal with the digital asset. So I think it was a clear and good decision at that point. Not US banks because they cannot hold a risky asset. And that's what David D is saying, that these people that are buying are not US banks because they cannot hold a risky asset. All right, I'll go with that, right? And I just can't see them standing out in the cold waiting for a later date, but I will lean on your knowledge and understanding instead of my own, because I don't have a table to stand on, and my mic's working, but that doesn't mean that that I'm the smartest one in the house. Now, you say that not US banks, but at the same time, we hear news that some of these banks have bought into Bitcoin and other digital assets. So how is that possible that they wouldn't buy into XRP? We've got different banks that are part of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. If they're not buying into the digital asset, what are they doing? They're just there to hang out and share their time and experience with people that are building something that they can't use. So I hear what you're saying about them being risk averse. Nonetheless, I question how they wouldn't want to be there and why they wouldn't be trying to get it at the cheapest price. All right, so we'll close out this one. I always get his name wrong, so we'll call him XRP Crow. He creates a lot of great infographics. So if you're looking for infographics to share with family and friends to understand how XRP works and where we are, definitely check out XRP Crow on Twitter. And I thought this was a great visual of sort of what's going on, how much has been invested, and what items are out there, the different companies in the Internet of Value. Now, this is 2018. I don't think this has been fully updated to show all of the different partnerships and people that are involved in the XRP ecosystem. And this one is also pretty old, but we have a lot of partnerships. So if you guys have any graphics like this that I can use or take a look at, because I'm interested in looking at some of the new partnerships that we have. So we have, W3C over here. We have connecting to the Hyperledger. We have Codius down here, which we haven't heard about that much development on it, except for Richard, our developer who developed Hot Pocket. And we have SBI up here, who we know is giving their shareholders, giving away XRP to their shareholders. So we have a lot of stuff going on in our ecosystem. And one of the things that brought this to my attention was the fact that I stumbled across a tweet somewhere where somebody was saying that VeChain was the digital asset that had the most agreements and things going on in their community and needed to be listed somewhere. And I was like, and let me go take a look at that. And I did a comparison, and that's how I ended up on this page. So AJ says, for cross-border domestic payments for large corridors, there is no benefit to using XRP or any crypto. All right. I wish I could get you guys all in a room and we could sit around a table, eat some good steak like Vswind and his friends do, and just talk about all of this stuff, because I would love to be in some of your brains. I don't get enough time to talk to you guys. So XRP Carolina, good morning. Wonderful to have you here. So SPO says, Lionel, it's inevitable. Banks will do cryptocurrency. I agree. And we have that coming out. Like, we have these full solutions coming out. I think we're at the point where institutions are trying to get all of the things that will make their risk and compliance departments happy if they start dealing with this. One of the issues that I have is that it's still very difficult for people to understand how to store and how to protect their digital assets. So without a custodial solution, they are sort of dead in the water, because if it's gone, it's gone. I was watching. There was a great video online that was it's a jokey video, but the volatility up and down. But what about the situation where somebody breaks into your house and they've stolen your ledger? They don't even know what the heck it is, and now all of your money is gone, unless you have your seed keys. I know if you have your seed keys, you're fine. But do people really protect their seed information and their ledgers with the level of security that is needed to be when you're ready to lose all your money? So Jeff from the Hodl Review says, by the way, AJ, there are 2 primary exchanges that highlight being self-insured. I'm not sure which ones those were. So David D. Silhouette Park Farms is saying, you didn't make friends with salad. All right. So it looks like you guys are having fun. I hope the information that I've shared today is actually getting you thinking. I know that we're focused, this video has been a lot of focus on stuff that we know, looking at the Q3 report, but I'm not, other than the launch of the developer website, I'm not seeing anything that really stands out as being super whiz-ding, top news today. I don't hear anything of new partnerships, but revisiting all of the facts that make XRP the standard, I think is a good starting point. So for the rest of your day, you don't need to be on Twitter. You can just go out, go do some golfing, go tackle AJ. He is a big golfer. Go talk to him and go have some fun, or just focus in on other important things that you have going on in your life. We are coming up on the holidays. This is a great time to start thinking about who you want to give XRP for Christmas. And I saw a bad joke on that on Twitter yesterday, where it was like, yeah, I'm not getting her flowers or chocolates. Instead, for our anniversary, I'm going to get her some Zerps. And I was like, and I don't know who it was, but they were like, really good way to ruin a relationship. I'm not sure if it is or not. I think investing in other people's futures is a great step that you can take forward, even though they may not realize what it is. One of the challenges that I've had in trying to do that is, how do I help them to understand how much they have to protect it, that it's, it may seem like nothing now, but this is something that you need to know where it is and maintain the information into the future. And in teaching my uncle that, I was like, put this information in like 3 or 4 different spots, so that if you don't find one, little rabbit hole where you hid stuff, you'll be able to find it in the future. So, and Silhouette Park Farm says he's having us over for dinner. He makes his own bacon. So, and you make lamb chops as well. I saw you make those, and those were amazing. Made me hungry. So, and yes, Carolina, I am very happy that you are able to finally catch up on one of my live shows. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So if you have not liked the video, please like it. I had my microphone and I actually started on time. I know those are low requirements. Those are like minimum viable requirements if you're going to be on YouTube, but I'm still learning, it seems. And we have great things coming up and going on. Actually, starting today, we're going to start advertising all of the different people that will be helping us with the XRP Community Choice Award, the XRP Community Choice Awards. And I'm really excited to be saying that we have Backup Bradley, SPQR Media, Digital Nomad Investor, the Crypto Ginger, Crypto Erie, and other people. Chip from on the block, right? Did I get it right? Yeah, chip off the block. I'm gonna get it right, but yes, from our great community, these people are going to be presenting awards. So look for the video that should be coming out this morning that talks about the different awards that they will be presenting. It is an award show. People will win. If you don't vote, then people you may not like may win. I am not changing votes because I don't like somebody, because I care, but I don't care. I care about raising XRP for our XRP developers and growing our ecosystem by developing solutions that can be used by consumers and small businesses, because that is not the focus point and the area of investment that Ripple is really looking into. Yeah, they're investing in companies that'll do that on the side, but we have the ability to grow our developer community by investing in the XRP Community Fund. So buy a ticket. If you haven't bought a ticket, buy a ticket. There's a great chance to win a lot of great prizes. And yeah, with that, I will end with my little advertisement for the thing that's been taking up all my time. I feel married at this. I'm not married. I feel like I'm getting ready for a wedding because it's so much stuff to do. But I'm having fun, and I get to work with a great group of people who have been very supportive, and so I appreciate all of them. But yes, take a look for this video. It's going to be awesome. We've passed 20K, and you know, all of the ticket sales now go to just people being there at this amazing event, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. So on that note, I am out of here, my friends, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. I hope you have a great one, and yeah, we'll talk tomorrow. All right, I am going to find the button to end the stream. Watch, that hasn't happened yet where I'm ending the stream and then I'm like off stream, like, oh my God, yep, it hasn't happened. Hopefully it never happens. That would be horrible. I just want to cheer. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Bye. Hey, I just saw that Calvin Knight just showed up. I don't know if I am still streaming or not, but I think I just saw Calvin Knight show up, and I was told earlier, did he actually show up? I had to come out here very quickly to see. Oh, did Calvin Knight show up? Where is my mulleted friend? No, he didn't. All right, I apologize, but I was told I had to ask him a question and he never showed up. So, all right, I am really ending the stream now. All right, bye guys.